history of the Galapagos Islands dates back millions of years with the volcanic formation of the archipelago. It is the natural habitat of thousands of species and is full of mysteries, pirate stories, and amazing natural beauty. Galapagos fascinates those who visit them, and one could easily argue there isn't a place like the Galapagos on the face of the earth. The Galapagos lies at the westernmost corner of Western thought, a remote huddle of volcanic islets once deemed uninhabitable, one of human history's most enigmatic corners and one of our planet's last colonized territories, considered a wasteland in the eyes of pirates and poets alike. Yet, it has since been revealed to those who have craved to delve into its distant and obscure heart and soul the secrets of life on Earth, the magic of evolution, the magnificence of survival, the parade of underwater diversity, the spectacle of volcanic geology, and mankind's unfaltering hope of conservation. Galapagos is one of the most ecologically relevant destinations in the world, a true crucible of science and wonder. In the islands, everything is special and attention is deserved everywhere. Before we learn about this mystical island, just a reminder that we have a bonus fact for you towards the end of the video. Number 1. Born of Fire. The Galapagos Archipelago is one of the most volcanically active areas in the world, situated atop a hotspot in the Western Pacific. The islands were created over millennia of volcanic activity as magma repeatedly broke through the seafloor and formed layer upon layer of rock, eventually becoming islands. Today, there are 13 active volcanoes in the archipelago, with intermittent eruptions occurring as recently as 2018. Number 2. Discovery by accident. The first recorded visitor to the Galapagos was Thomas de Berlanga, a Spanish noble and the Bishop of Panama, whose ship was blown off course in 1535 while sailing from Panama to Peru. Berlanga was less than impressed with the stark, desert-like archipelago, describing it in a letter to the King of Spain as dross, worthless, because it has not the power of raising a little grass, but only some thistles. Number 3. Enchanted Islands. Today, the most westerly island, Fernandina, is the youngest and most active. The first islands to be created on this hotspot are not technically considered Galapagos Islands, and the first of which that was considered a Galapagos Island has disappeared into the sea. Today, 19 so-called major islands and more than 100 islets make up the Galapagos archipelago. Pre-Columbian visits have been confirmed from artifacts of Incan and pre-Incan periods, yet it is believed that the Galapagos was more a shipwrecked destination than a stopover on an actual trading route. Description of an expedition to the islands during Inca Tupac Yupancu's reign has been considered a figment of early colonial imagination, whereby abundant gold and silver was supposedly collected and brought back to the mainland. These are the first legendary tales of the Galapagos, which soon took the name of Islas Encantados or Enchanted Islands because of their ability to appear out of nowhere from the misty waters of the frightful Pacific Ocean. Number 4. Saving the Islands. It somehow makes sense that islands situated off the equator would belong to a country named Ecuador, but it could very well not have been so. It was only 1832 and a tiny Ecuador was taking the scraps that were being left behind from territorial distribution of the large, more economically prominent Bolivarian nations. Ecuador got very little out of the deal and was further reduced to the 256,000 kilometers square it is today when Peru invaded during World War II. But one can say in this case that good can come from evil. Ecuadorians ventured to make these islands everything from mining emporiums to secluded kingdoms, and so little did the islands produce that they were even rented to the United States as a strategic outpost to protect North America from Japanese insurgents in exchange for extra cash during World War II. But times change. A shift was experienced throughout the industrialized world upon the end of the tragic World War, and little by little other world priorities began to pop up, one of these being environmental awareness. Bizarrely enough, the Galapagos Islands suddenly stood at the forefront of this change in attitude. Number 5. Human Habitation. Though Spanish sailors, buccaneers, and whalers soon followed in Berlanga's wake, the islands' inhospitable terrain discouraged permanent habitation. The Galapagos was annexed by Ecuador from Spain in 1832, which led to a trickle of settlements and penal colonies. It wasn't until the 1960s that an increasing number of Ecuadorians began migrating to the islands, drawn by opportunity in fishing and tourism. Today, more than 25,000 people live among the 4 inhabited islands of Santa Cruz, San Cristobal, Isabela, and Floriana. Number 6. Evolution Revolutions. Although Charles Darwin only spent 5 weeks in the Galapagos in 1835, his time in the archipelago left a lasting impression. Here, the English naturalist famously observed that the islands' finches, which were later named in his honor, had beaks that varied from island to island, depending on local condition and food sources. Darwin would later draw on this research as evidence for the theory of evolution by natural selection, which he presented in On the Origin of the Species. Number 7. Ecuador's first national park. An astonishing 97% of the Galapagos landmass is designated a national park. Established in 1959, Galapagos National Park protects more than 3,000 square miles of islands and islets, while the Galapagos Marine Reserve protects an additional 50,000 square miles of ocean around the islands. Number 8. Nat Geo Connection. In 2015, National Geographic's Pristine Seas team carried out an expedition to the Galapagos to survey its extraordinary marine environments and make a case for greater protection of its waters. Inspired in part by the team's findings, the government of Ecuador announced in 2016 the creation of a vast new marine sanctuary around Darwin and Wolf, 2 of the archipelago's northernmost islands. Number 9. Gentle Giants. The islands' giant tortoises, after which the archipelago is named, can survive up to 1 year without food or water. Tragically, this unique adaptation was a leading factor in their demise over the centuries, as thousands of tortoises were captured and stored on board ships to provide fresh meat for sailors. More than 100,000 tortoises are estimated to have been lost, leading to the extinction of several species and pushing others to the brink. Number 10. Conservation and action. For decades, researchers have been working to stabilize local tortoise populations at the captive breeding program at Santa Cruz, run by the Galapagos National Park Service and supported by the Lindblad Expedition, a National Geographic fund. Here, visitors can observe these iconic creatures up close and explore a facility where tortoise hatchlings are reared before being repatriated to the islands. Number 11. Penguins of the Tropics. Waddling about the islands, primarily on Isla Fernandina and Isla Isabela, is the only species of penguin found north of the equator. Though penguins are more commonly associated with the southern hemisphere's chilly realms, the Galapagos penguins thrives in its tropical Ecuadorian habitat thanks to the cool, nutrient-rich waters of the Humboldt Current, which flows north from Antarctica. Number 12. Starry Skies. Unobscured by light pollution, the night skies over the Galapagos are some of the most dazzling on the planet. With its unique positions straddling the equator, the archipelago also offers a rare opportunity to view the constellations of both the northern and southern hemispheres at the same time. Number 13. Swimming lizards. While they may not be the prettiest of the archipelago species, Charles Darwin famously described them as hideous-looking. They are certainly among the most intriguing. Marine iguanas, which are found exclusively in the Galapagos, are the world's only sea-going lizards. Their laterally flattened tails propel them through the water, while their long, sharp claws help them to cling to rocks. Contrary to their fierce, spiky-headed appearance, marine iguanas are herbivores, feeding primarily on algae and seaweed. And it's now time for the bonus fact, but before we get into it, we would like to thank you for staying with us this far. Floriana Island's post office bay dates back to the 18th century, when homesick whalers improvised a method of communicating with their families via a simple wooden barrel. Inside the barrel, they left letters for other seamen on homeward-bound ships to deliver by hand. The tradition continues to this day, with thousands of letters passing through the hands of visitors to Post Office Bay. What are your thoughts on the mystical islands of Galapagos? Comment down below and let us know if you would like to go visit as well. If you enjoyed the content, uplift the channel by hitting like, subscribe, and ring the YouTube bell to meet us again in the next video. Until next time.